Hi there. In 2023, I was lucky enough to get to climb Mount Fuji in Japan and witness the amazing sunrise over the whole of Japan. And you can check that video out. Link is in the top right corner. Of course, Japan Nippon literally means the land of the rising sun. So a couple of years later, I thought I would find a way to replicate that experience in the UK. Something you can do yourself if you live in the south of the UK. This video is going to be that story.
Hey there, good morning. It is 100 hours and I'm outside the Storey Arms outdoor centre in the centre of the Brecon Beacons National Park in Wales. Behind me, in the darkness, where you can't see it, at 865 metres high, is the United Kingdom's southernmost highest mountain, Pen y Fan. And for the next 2 hours, throughout the night, I'm going to climb it, arriving at the summit in time for sunrise. Why don't you stick with me in this video and let's see how it turns out. And I'll be honest with you, it is a bit daunting. I'm beginning to question whether this was a good idea. But let's go, eh?
Let's start with some geographics, shall we? I'm presently in the Brecon Beacons National Park in Wales. I'm not going to do any Welsh language pronunciation in this video, sorry. It is the only mountainous range in the southern British Isles and is around 4 hours drive from London. Now, by international standards, it's not very mountainous compared to, say, the Alps or North America's Rocky Mountains, but it's all we have in the southern UK. For real mountains, we need to go to the north of Scotland. So our objective is, throughout the night, to climb the highest peak in the Brecon Beacons range, a mountain known as Pen y Fan, and witness the sunrise in the morning. Pen y Fan is 886 metres above sea level, and to be fair, this mountain has a bit of a reputation. It's because this mountain range is so accessible to the English public day trippers, it has been the scene of the demise of many of them, numerous fatalities over the years, and virtually every year somebody dies here. I use the term English deliberately because the Welsh and the Scottish understand the risks of mountainous regions much better than the English. The reason for the large body count? Well, largely naivety, but also a large dose of stupidity. Most people expect Pen y Fan to look like this, which I filmed from my drone on today's expedition, but 99% of the year it looks like this. It is said that the Brecon Beacons can experience all 4 seasons in a single day. Because of the rugged and challenging nature of the terrain, the British Army used the Brecon Beacons Park for training, for special forces, and also infantry leaders, platoon commanders, platoon sergeants, and section commanders. All 3 elements have a fitness test called the Fan Dance, which is largely 24 kilometres over the Brecon Beacons National Park, over Pen y Fan Mountain. Because of this, there is a whole genre of YouTube creators making content claiming that they've completed the Fan Dance test. Yeah, firstly, it's not the toughest test in the British military, and if you've got time to vlog, you're not doing it under test conditions. But kudos to this old boy who's actually done it at 72. I did enjoy that video. Social media influencers and YouTubers faking the fan dance for content isn't anything new, because in 1982, Hollywood got in on the act, featuring the fan dance in the now classic 1982 British action movie Who Dares Wins, starring Lewis Collins.
The chopper will be at the top of the mountain to take you all off. Those who aren't there will have even a longer walk back. Remember, Peter, a full 1 hour's head start.
Stop.
All right, gentlemen, off you go. And good luck.
Better get going.
To digress slightly, and in the story of life truly imitating art, the lead actor of that movie, Lewis Collins, best known for his role as Bodie, the tough guy and ladies' man in the TV action series from the 1970s, The Professionals, was so inspired by his time making that movie that he went on to enlist as a reservist in the British Parachute Regiment, and from there attempted and passed UK Special Forces selection, went on to serve as a badged SAS trooper in the reservist 21 SAS. He applied to become a regular in 1983, but was refused by the MOD on the basis that he was too well known as an international actor. Collins died in 2013, aged 67. He is so loved by the Special Forces community that he is commemorated in the Special Forces section of the National Arboretum. Of course, I've been bounced over Pen y Fan numerous times in my previous life, and like most military veterans, I regard the place with a certain degree of nostalgia and regularly come back here for recreation. This is me, photographed a few years ago, on Pen y Fan, on a date with my then girlfriend Heather, and it's about -10 with wind chill on the top of Pen y Fan here. Right, before any of you report me for domestic abuse, I need to point out that Heather is Canadian. She is effectively a human female form of a husky, and mountains in -30 degrees Celsius is her natural environment. She's having the time of her life here on the top of Pen y Fan. Okay, enough background and preamble. Let's get on with the expedition, shall we? Back at the Storey Arms Outdoor Centre, the weather is quite balmy, 16 degrees Celsius, but it is proper dark. The moon is set below the horizon, and the only way I can film our start point in Storey Arms is by using my car headlights. On the Ordnance Survey map, we are here, having arrived via the A470 road from Merthyr Tydfil, and our objective is here, the summit of Pen y Fan, by 0420 hours. Let me show you better on Google Earth. There are two routes to the summit from here. 1 kilometre to the south of the Storey Arms is the National Park car park, which costs £10 24/7. And that has a very long, boring, engineered track to the summit of Pen y Fan. This is nicknamed the M1 after the British motorway, as it is very long, boring, and is the one that most people use. This route will take somebody with average fitness about 1.5 to 2 hours to the summit. Because we want to do something a bit more challenging, we're going to use the Storey Arms route via Corndu, and then take a side quest to the Memorial Obelisk on the way. Now, someone of average fitness should take about 2 to 2.5 hours to the summit. My timing is going to be much slower because I'm obviously stopping to create content. And a word of caution, do my route at night only in summer and good weather, unless you've got hill walking experience. There are some significant dangers en route, and if you're in any doubt, use the M1. Let's quickly talk equipment so you don't become another casualty statistic. We're trekking at night, so obviously bring at least 2 light sources. Ideally a powerful head torch, but also a backup light source in case that fails. Wear suitable clothing. Even in summer, the weather up here is changeable, and the winds can be gale force. Wear footwear with ankle support. The ground is very rugged and undulating, and you don't want to twist your ankle halfway up. And finally, a fully charged cell phone, ideally with satellite messaging, because there's little or no cellular coverage up here. Let's get going then, shall we? It's 01:45 hours at the Storey Arms, and we're going to start the route by the red emergency telephone box, passing through the sheep gate, and then picking up the footpath on the other side, which then goes very steeply uphill. For you to follow on YouTube, I'm going to break the route down into legs between prominent visible waypoints. In this leg, we're going to start at the Storey Arms sheep gate here, go steeply uphill, following the forestry block to our right, and then to the top of this ridgeline, and finally down into the re-entrant to the point where the footpath crosses the Taf Fawr brook. Most of this route is on very well-defined and sometimes engineered footpaths, so no doubt somebody in the comments will say that you don't need any navigation skills or aids to do this route. That is a very dangerous assumption. It is completely dark up here, and unusually today, there is no hill fog. If you come off the path even by a few metres, it is very, very easy to get completely lost. As a bare minimum, have a phone with offline, because there's no cell phone service up here, offline Google Maps, and ideally an offline nav aid such as Hiker. Or you can just go old school and have a OS map and a compass.
Okay guys, so here we are at our first waypoint. In honesty, we haven't gone very far, a few hundred metres. we're the corner of the forestry block behind the Storey Arms. And now the reason I picked this is because it is our last physical waypoint before we get to the obelisk in about 45 minutes. So this is a good point to calibrate the electronic navigation software, and I'll be using spyglass for that. I don't really need it, to be fair. I know this place like the back of my hand. But for you, it is very important to go from physical waypoint to physical waypoint if you're doing a night navigation. If you're doing it in day, again, same principle applies, because the hill fog can roll in quite quickly and you can lose your bearings, because from this point onwards it is all open hill land, and when we pick up the ridge line it's going to be quite treacherous. So I'm going to get spyglass out now, make sure I've got my next waypoint calibrated onto it, but I'm going to navigate by dead reckoning, and we're going to the re-entrant stream crossing, and it's going to take us about 15-20 minutes to get there. Right, onwards, and quite literally upwards.
This is the spyglass navigation software in augmented reality mode. In reality, I'm only using it for YouTube content because I only ever really use the electronic compass and the app in map mode. AR works best with AR glasses, which I don't have, because otherwise it just messes up your night vision. My recommendation though is you don't use spyglass at all, use the Hiker app with Ordnance Survey maps. Once you crest the ridgeline, you will then descend steeply to the bottom of the re-entrant and cross the brook, which runs from northwest to southeast.
So I've stepped just short of our second waypoint, the stream crossing where the footpath crosses the brook in the bottom of what is quite a steep re-entrant. Now the footing conditions is the middle of summer, are virtually perfect. In winter, when it's been raining or it's icy, you really need to watch your footing down there. It's very undulating and it is very slippy. And also, there is no cell phone service down there. So unless you've got satellite distress, which I have on my phone, if you come a cropper down here, particularly at night, you're going to have problems. We're not going to hang around down here. We're going to go up the other side of the re-entrant, back onto the open hillside, and I'm looking for a sheep track that turns left off the main footpath, because I want to come off the main footpath and pick up the horseshoe ridgeline right by the Tommy Jones Memorial, and then we'll stop at the Tommy Jones Memorial for a catch-up, and hopefully then we should be into nautical twilight and it might be a bit better for the GoPro. Okay, we continue.
Because we're in summer and it's been relatively dry in South Wales in recent weeks, the Taf Fawr brook is only ankle deep to cross, and you can tiptoe across it on the various stepping stones without getting wet feet, which isn't much fun. If you come here after heavy rain or in winter, it'll be a different story, and this brook can be over knee deep, and there is no avoiding it. From the brook crossing, it is literally all uphill from here, and if you want, you can follow the engineered footpath all the way to the foot of Corndoo. But I'm going to go on a side quest to the Tommy Jones Obelisk and pick up the Horseshoe Ridgeline footpath. And so I need to go cross country. And to do that easily, I'm going to pick up a sheep track and turn left and head across country. I recommend you don't try and go directly across country, because there are numerous hidden hazards, such as bog holes, which may be hard to spot in darkness.
Right then, here we are at the next waypoint, the track junction. I called it a junction, there's nothing here. The spyglass is telling me I'm in the right place, and by dead reckoning and pacing, I'm certain I need to turn left here. So we're going to move cross country now for a few hundred metres and acquire the Tommy Jones Memorial Obelisk. We can't go wrong, because if you go beyond that, you go off the edge of the Horseshoe Ridgeline, which we really don't want to do we? Another point, bit of hillcraft etiquette here. There are other people up here on the mountain. I've just had a courtesy flash from a head torch from about, I would say, about 800 metres, a kilometre away, well off the beaten track. As I said, you do get special forces candidates up here practicing for SF selection. They generally avoid the footpaths, and they generally don't want to bump into idiots like me walking around at night. If you do get a torch flash, do acknowledge it. One flashback, one ping only, Dimitri from the Hunt for Red October, and just as a courtesy check to make sure the other hill walkers all in order. A single flash just means, yeah, I know you're here and I'm all good, and you do likewise. Now, if you get rapid flashes constantly or a strobe light, then that is a distress signal, and you're obligated, morally, not legally, to go and find out if that individual is all in order, because, again, Special Forces soldiers do fall over, hurt themselves, and they might need your aid. Like I said, there's very little cell phone coverage up here. If you've got a modern cell phone, then you've got satellite comms on that. But if you're walking alone and you take a tumble, you're relying on people up here to lend a hand. Not expecting to see anybody else, but there might be some people up on the summits at dawn. It is a bit unnerving if you see somebody in the distance wandering around the hillside at night and they don't acknowledge you. Also, you'll see eyes in the undergrowth. There is wildlife up here, and your torch will reflect on their eyes. It is a bit unnerving, but this is the United Kingdom, not Canada. There's nothing up here that will kill you. Just a few badgers, foxes, and sheep. So we're going to turn left here. Yeah, I've just had another torch flash from about a kilometre away. So I'll acknowledge him when I finish vlogging. And we're going to pick up the ridgeline. And hopefully by then we should have a bit of horizon when we're into nautical twilight. Yep, another 10 minutes to the ridgeline from here. Let's go.
On Google Earth, I'll show you the route we've just taken. So we left the main footpath here to follow the sheep track across country to the Tommy Jones Obelisk here. Take note, please, of their sheer cliffs now going down from the ridgeline into the valley. Going over the edge of these will kill you. On the OS map, our waypoint is marked simply as Obelisk with a dot. But this is what it looks like when you get there on the ground.
Here we are then, the Tommy Jones Memorial Obelisk from 1900. I brought you here for a couple of reasons. Firstly, it is a physical waypoint I can show you on the ground on an otherwise featureless hillside. Also, the climb here is a bit more dramatic than following the public footpath up. And also, there's a chance for me to have a rest and a drink of water. This is also one of the checkpoints on Special Forces selection. It's not running at the moment, so I wasn't expecting to be anybody here. If you're doing this walk at night, when it is on and you see a tent pitched up here, you want to probably give this a wide berth. Special Forces candidates aren't allowed to use footpaths, but they'll come up the re-entrant and check in here before moving on to the next checkpoint in daylight and at night time, depending on which exercise they're running and which part of the hills phase they're doing. Another point, which I really do want to make clear, again, I know this place like the back of my hand, but up to now, you would have had to try very hard to hurt yourself or kill yourself on this trek. Where I am now is about 10 metres from a sheer drop. And if you go over that edge, you're going to die. I know it's there, but if the visibility is not as good, you might not. So when you come into this obelisk, make sure you stay right close up to the footpath or the sheep track that goes up the ridge line. Don't go beyond it. Probably another point, I know some people bring their dogs up here. Keep your dog on a lead. It is Brecon Beacons Park policy. Two things, if you let your dog off the lead, you might never see him again. He'll take off after a sheep and that'll be the last you see of him. Also, dogs tend not to jump off cliffs in daylight. Dog won't know that cliff's there and he'll go running up to the obelisk and then free fall all the way into Brecon. Okay, I'm going to tell you a bit about Tommy Jones now, and I'll show you around the checkpoint.
You can read the inscription yourself while I'm narrating. The obelisk was installed in 1901 and it marks the spot where Tommy Jones' body was found in 1900. Tommy was just 5 years old and a boy from the valley who went missing on the 4th of August 1900. His disappearance caused a massive search by the people of Brecon. Initial police suspicion was that he'd been abducted by gypsies, which apparently was a thing back in the late 19th century. After 2 weeks of looking, the search was abandoned. Tommy's body was eventually found here 29 days after his disappearance. He had died of exposure. It seems that the little boy had simply decided to climb Pen y Fan on his own, and this was as far as he got before nightfall, and then succumbed to the extreme weather up here. After a welcome rest and a cup of coffee, it's time to move on to the next leg of our journey, which is from the obelisk to the summit of Corn-Du, which is one of the sub-peaks in the Brecon Beacons range. The route is easy to follow. We stick to the well-worn footpath that goes up the knife edge ridgeline. Remember to keep well to the right of the cliff edges, particularly in the high winds that are up here regularly. This climb is very steep towards the summit, and the last 25 metres to Corn-Du is a 3 points of contact rock scramble. This is a Corn-Du summit from about 200 metres away. You can see we're now well into nautical twilight, and very soon I won't need the head torch anymore. Also, there is another person already at the summit ahead of me, silhouetted against the sky.
We've come up from the Tommy Jones Memorial, and I've done that about a dozen times in the past, in my previous life. I tell you what though, I've done it for a few years, and in the esteemed words of Officer Murtaugh from Lethal Weapon, I'm getting too old for this shit. Anyway, there's I think a gentleman up here having a bit of reflective time, bit of meditation up by the cairn, and I don't really want to disturb him. Also, looking back down the valley, back down towards the A470 and the Storey Arms forestry block, coming up from the National Trust car park is a steady stream of about 20 head torches now, coming up the M1, the Ho Chi Minh Trail, and they're going to be here probably in about an hour. So I think we're going to get a bit busy at sunrise. There's no harm in that. It's a public park. It's what people are told to do. So I kind of wanted to have the place to myself. That ain't going to happen. But we'll get there for about 04:20, set the tripod up, stake our claim, and watch the sun come up. In fact, having a bit of company might make it a bit more entertaining for YouTube. Anyway, I'm not hanging around now. About another 20 minutes to our final destination. Not hard going now. We drop into the saddle, and then it's just a gentle climb up to the next peak, at Pen y Fan summit, and the cairn and obelisk up there. Okay then, onwards. Not really upwards. Onwards and acrosswards. Is that really a word? Okay, let's go.
Once you've summited Corn-Du, the hard part of the day is over. For the rest of the journey, we're going to drop into the saddle that lies between the summit of Corn-Du and the summit of Pen y Fan, and then across that on the flat, and then it's a fairly gentle climb to the summit of Pen y Fan. And this is that view across the saddle from Corn-Du.
Well, here I am then. Exactly the time I planned to be here, 04:20 hours, and the start of civil twilight. I've set our tripod up and I'm going to capture the sunrise, which is due at 05:05 hours. As you can see, there's plenty of people up here, much more than I thought would be up here, but it's just the bank holiday weekend and it is a fairly pleasant day. So what I'll do is I'll show you around the summit while I wait for the sun to come up, and then when the sun's up I'll talk to you a bit more. You can actually see who you're talking to, which you haven't been able to for the rest of the video. Okay, let's have a look around the summit of Pen y Fan at 04:20 hours on the 26th of May 2026.
From the summit cairn, we can see the streetlights of the town of Brecon in the lowland, and the sky now has a red tinge as we begin civil dawn. Let me explain the terminology a bit better. When I arrived in the Storey Arms at midnight, we were in classic night time. Technically, this means the sun is more than 18 degrees below the horizon. When I started the trek from the Storey Arms upwards, we were into astronomical twilight. Again, technically, the sun is now between 18 and 12 degrees below the horizon. Generally speaking, the human eye cannot differentiate between true night and early astronomical twilight. But optical instruments can, hence the term. When we arrived at the Tommy Jones Memorial at 0330 hours, it was nautical dawn, and the remainder of the trek up to the summit of the fan where we are now was done in nautical twilight. Technically, this is when the sun is between 12 and 6 degrees below the horizon. In nautical twilight, the horizon is now visible, and most of the stars are no longer visible. It is now still dawn here on Pen y Fan, and that's what most people understand as dawn, or in military terms, first light. The sun is 6 degrees below the horizon and rising rapidly, and it will break the horizon at exactly 0505 hours today. As it is rapidly getting light here on the summit of Pen y Fan, I'm going to kill 20 minutes by having a wander around the summit. About another 30 people are now arriving from the National Park car park along the Ho Chi Minh Trail, the M1 footpath, and are starting to stake their claim on the knife edge. The time it takes for the sun to break the horizon and for the sun's whole orb to be clear of the horizon is about 30 minutes. I've recorded this event as a time-lapse for you, so please sit back and enjoy the sunrise over Pen y Fan Mountain on the 26th of May 2026.
Well then, mission accomplished. So to summarise what we've done today, we've trekked from the Storey Arms through the night up to the Tommy Jones Memorial, arriving at the summit of Pen y Fan just before silver twilight. And then we've watched the sun come up with about 40 other people. It's a bit more crowded than I was expecting. And now the sun is well in the sky and it's a beautiful summer's day here in Wales. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a like. And also consider subscribing to my channel. I do travel and history content. The more subscribers I get, the more I'm inspired to go out and do stuff like this. So to finish our video, I'm going to play you out with footage of all the ground we've covered during the night, but in daylight. So it'll make more sense to you. If you want to hang on, I'll put a bit of music on. Thanks for staying with me through this expedition, and I'll catch you on the next video. Bye then.